Okay, my name's Ben Evans. Right now we're at St David Dairy in Fitzroy in St David Street, and I'm the business owner, and we've been operating for just over 3 years. Here we built I guess a baby dairy. We bottle fresh milk here 4 days a week, which we then deliver locally in a reasonably small delivery radius. We deliver 90% of our milk within 8 k's of the factory. We bottle Monday during the week, and we deliver 6 days a week. So at the moment we source our milk. We go up and meet every morning at 4 a.m. to a cheese factory up in the north of Melbourne, and we meet farm trucks there each morning, so they still collect milk from a few farms in the Yarra Valley. They also get milk each day from around Ballarat, Dunstown area, and they'll buy a third load each week, usually from Gippsland. We actually go up there each morning and test the milk on the coffee machine, and we actually pick which milk stretches are best for us. We're just on the verge. I guess part of our starting so small was we were always too small to link up directly with the dairy. The seasonality of a dairy farm is a challenge with fresh milk because it's a short shelf life product. Unlike cheese, you can make a lot in spring and mature that and sell it through the winter months. Fresh milk's a bit different, so it's short shelf life. People don't drink twice as much milk in spring as they do in winter. So we've been sort of growing to a point where we can link up with a dairy farm, and we're just about to do that now. So we are in close discussion with both my sister's dairy farm down in Terang and a lady in Druin that would allow us to go direct, which is obviously the last sort of little piece of our story. And our medium-term goal is to buy a dairy farm ourselves and have that closed loop, full integration, which would be great. My sister married onto a dairy farm. My uncle is the factory manager of the Marigold and Koroit branch. My great uncle is field officer for Nestle in Warrnambool, which is now Fonterra. So I guess there's a fair family link to the dairy industry. I got a cadetship in dairy technology when I was in year 12 at the local factory. I'm from a small town of 1,200 people, so most people are either dairy farms or linked to the local factory. So I did cadetship. I went to study in Werribee at the old dairy college, and then back to the factory and sort of worked my way up through that. But at the college there was the small scale factory which did cheese, did all dairy products on a smaller scale, which I just loved compared to the big factories where you're in front of a computer processing ginormous volumes of milk. You're a bit less connected with the product. And so from there, ever since then, I thought that was the end game, that I'd like to have a small scale plant. Often with factories, the sort of culture there is not great often. A lot of people don't enjoy being there, for instance, whereas I loved it. So from an early age, I was sort of frustrated already being a manager at a young age, but a lot of people not, hating working there. So I always sort of dreamt of having a small place where you could enjoy yourself, and I guess as I worked up through management, you do get less and less involved with the product. You spend a lot more time in safety meetings and quality meetings and board reports, so you're probably just getting more and more disconnected from the product, which I really enjoy working with. So everyone knows that coffee, your latte stretches well. There's actually a whole world of milk stretching issues that can occur. Generally this time of year we're pretty lucky because fresh grass, cows are just calved, early lactation, milk's fresh. Come summer, the grass dies, cows start being fed crops and silage. The milk starts dropping, so milk might only get picked up every second day. It's a bit older, and the cows start getting late in the lactation, start drying off. You can have a lot of issues with milk stretch, so the milk just won't froth. And I guess that's a little niche that we've found. Being small, we can probably select. We can go up there and say, well, this stretches, this doesn't. We have this milk today, and we've probably got a bit of a name amongst cafes for having good quality milk that stretches year round. So we do a few different things. So we we don't standardise our milk at all. So the milk that goes into our bottle is exactly what comes out of the farms. There's not really any dairies of scale doing that anymore. So every factory will be splitting the milk up, putting it back together at the desired composition, which I do think you lose the best of the milk each year, you know. They'll say it's for consistency, but there's a lot of money in cream. So they'll take as much cream out as they can to sell separately, whereas we're not really about that. Ours is just being as probably close to its natural state as possible. And so we literally just, whatever milk comes from the farm, that ends up in the bottle. So that's a bit of a difference. And I think people notice a difference in the taste. We won Best in Show trophy just a few weeks ago at the Fine Food, the RASV Fine Food Awards. And we got gold at the Dairy Awards this year for our full cream milks, which they'll go to the Grand Dairy Awards later in the year. So everything again is on a small scale. So we wheel the milk in by hand. The pipes here are 1 inch small pipes, so it's, I guess, a microbrewery version of a dairy. So overall though, that's a lot less pumping pressure, a lot less processing involved in the process, which we think is better for the milk. And with the small scale and our small size, we don't have trucks rolling in here, putting milk off for tomorrow and the next day and the row of silos. We just get a small batch each morning, we bring it here, we bottle it, we wash up in the afternoon and go home. So the milk's the same day, it's always bottled the same day as it's arriving off farm. Yeah, so look, we supply to a lot of, probably 90% cafes, but more and more little boutique grocers, local stores, small fruit shops. But we also supply a lot of higher end restaurants now. We supply Heston's, we supply the Stokehouse before they close to swap back over. We supply Press Club. I'll miss some good ones, but the Convention Centre use our milk. Parliament. We've sort of, I guess, being in our location and having good products, I guess word's got around. We don't have any salespeople or anything, so I still answer every email inquiry. As time's gone on, we've just grown a list of good customers. Yeah, I think everyone, I guess the same reason you guys are having a conference, everyone's starting to sort of look a bit further into where the food's come from, and how it's produced. Maybe the owners behind the business, I guess, are they a foreign-owned multinational company, or and I guess we wouldn't be a kilometre from here to Parliament, and we got a call. A couple of the procurement and the chef come around, have a look. So I think being able to show people this, here's our raw milk. This is the milk coming off the line. People are very interested in that, and I guess food miles, sustainability starts playing a role in some people's decisions as well. I guess we were looking around for a long time for a place to put to start something similar, and you could have something 2 or 3 times the size in an industrial zone out in the outer suburbs, but it just didn't. I guess we didn't have the money to buy a dairy at the start, so I guess. It was important for us to show the nature of our business, and I think Fitzroy is a bit of a hub for. You look at the menus around here in the local area, and you'll see the menus are very descriptive about where their food's from, how it's made, and so we knew that. My wife was studying in Fitzroy, we were living up the road, so we saw this building, and I think a few people had a go at unsuccessfully at getting stuff through council to put in here. It's a bit of a unique fit because of the zoning, but the fit out, so it was a fully functional food premises, but it was in a tightly held mixed-use zone. So, but we certainly have seen already. There was a couple of empty warehouses behind us. They're now townhouses. We share a wall with a brothel on one side. We're over the road from a pub. We back onto the pubs on Brunswick Street behind us, so certainly there's a lot of activity, but yeah, it's a bit of a thriving area. It was an exciting place to be, but it will limit our growth, which is fine. We were never sort of aiming to be a big business, but that's something you sort of have to consciously decide when you want to set up somewhere like here. But it's sort of a positive. It keeps us sort of grounded, trying to get better rather than bigger. But it does have its challenges, which from the first process of contacting council through to now, there's things that you've got to be really aware of. But we're only here in daytime hours. We limit the truck movements. Parking's always an issue, so we're sort of wary about only having one of the guys back here getting milk at a time during the day. We have a warehouse now up the road for our vehicles to park, which is fixes that. We have standby on our trucks now, so we can sort of put milk in the afternoon and get it out of here and plug it in. In the morning, they can just go off delivering from the warehouse. So it does add some costs and challenges, but I think the interest that it's probably got us to where we are in terms of the branding. If we had to come in with a similar story and said, we're from Broadmeadows Dairy, it's a small little dairy, it just probably wouldn't have been in people's faces and people wouldn't have understood. I think the amount of positive feedback we get even from neighbours and just local residents that are walking past, we spend a lot of time getting pulled up listening to stories about what used to be here, and it's great. And there was a cheese factory just a few doors down back when they were children, and they remember this, they remember that. So the Historical Society have come for a look. So it's been an interesting process, but it all becomes, you sort of do become part of the local community. I think also we've probably, being local, I think we probably contributed a lot more locally than someone from a further field as well, maybe on smaller scales. We're not sponsoring the AFL, but we do weekly donations to St Mary's House of Welcome. We do a weekly drop at St Mark's up the road. We weekly drop at PBS. We're business sponsors of the local community radio. We do 2 drops a week up to Moira Kelly up in Brunswick and the work that she does with the kids. So, and there wouldn't be a week that goes past without a school fete, kindergarten fete, that, a couple of crates of milk. So I think that, it comes to responsibilities to be part of the local community, but I think that we carry our weight, I think, yeah. I guess you have 1,000 different challenges in a small business, but so I think something that's probably maybe lost a little bit is people who are wanting to start a business on this scale. You're not usually a multinational. You're not usually a big company. You're not usually have a heap of money behind you often. So yeah, for us it was sell our car and get a refrigerated van. It was sell our apartment to have money that try and go to the bank and get them to let us borrow some money. So you're really putting everything into it. And you're starting from, you've got a lot of passion about the product, passion about, maybe the ethics that you want your business to have, but you don't often have the knowledge of the regulatory requirements. I do with dairy, but not with, say, the council side of things. So it certainly is a challenge. In the first early days when I was still in the country, we looked at starting a small cheese factory on a block of rural land just outside Warrnambool. But we didn't get that through council because we weren't a primary producer. It wasn't our milk, which, if you don't own a dairy farm, what do? You spend $2 million on a dairy farm just to say you're a primary producer. So that was, early challenges. If we were value adding to a business of ours, it was allowed, but if you're trying to start something without it, value adding to your own product, it's not. And so we sort of realised early on that we were sort of pushing into a bit of a niche where we wanted to use primary produce. We wanted to value add it. We wanted to do it on a small scale, but it wasn't our raw material. So that was that. Here though, it was probably a lot more challenges. We were just probably lucky that we stumbled on an existing use rights here. If it wasn't for that, we wouldn't be here. So there's no way we'd be here. So, but So we definitely got put through our paces, noise analysis, surveys, waste management plans, all the things which, I guess are probably due diligence required, but, we definitely got through, it's quite an expenditure you've got to get through to probably get to that point, which is, I guess, part of it to a degree, due diligence, but more recently, I guess, in terms a relevant story, which I think I'd probably mention, is that we've just finished an unsuccessful council application that we've probably given up on at the moment. We spent probably $30,000, and we couldn't get it through. So I guess, being a relevant crowd, I guess the background is that we took over the shop next door. It was a retail zone use. It was the old Simon Johnson Providor. It was actually adjoining our property. It was the same landlord, so historically it was connected. But so we had this building that, when you look at where we could have possibly sort of grown into a little bit, this is the only option. So we took over this with the idea that it was sort of, we could packaging, bit of storage, but we also thought it'd be great to have a small visual cheese, small scale cheese room, and a little butter room for people to come in. The amount of emails we get, I probably had 3 this week. I've got a school group coming on Thursday. People just wanting to have a look, wanting to see where it happens, where the food comes from, and good luck getting into some of the large factories to do that. But we have kindergarten groups. But the design of this plant wasn't really too friendly for getting groups in and out, seeing things happen. So we thought it'd be great to have a shop at the front, clear glass, a little cheese room. We purchased a 200 litre cheese vat. My background is, before here I was production manager at Bega Cheese for 6 years, so cheese is probably a bit of an end game for us, but it's also a tougher game to get into. You need to buy the raw material, you need to make the cheese, you need to watch the cheese on a shelf for up to 8 months before you start getting some money back. You can't just do that once and wait 8 months and show someone, they'll say, oh, it's great, I'll make some more and be back in 8 months. So you've actually got to invest in that milk for 8 months. So you've sort of, once you start, you've got some stock rolling through. So it's a big commitment. But now that we sort of had a business here, we thought we could, do that without the, we could probably carry that expenditure and the scale that we wanted to do it on. So the cheese vat that we bought, which was explained well in the application, was a 200 litre cheese vat. You get a 10% yield. You get 1 20 kilo wheel of cheese a day. So we applied with council, and I guess we really saw the confusion on the face of the people we were dealing with. We sat at the council offices with people saying, "It sounds great. It'd be a beautiful plan." We spent a lot of money on architect plans to give a good understanding of the small scale. It was a 60 square metre production room, which is literally, it was about 8 metres by 8 metres. So it's not very big. And they said it just doesn't fit into any of the classifications here. You show me where it fits into the prohibited uses. And so we, tried to explain the nature of the scale. We drop milk up to a restaurant up the road every week, nearly 200 litres, where they make their own cheese and they sell it in the restaurant as part of their menu. That's fine. If we were a restaurant here, if we called ourselves a cheese restaurant, it might be fine. If we could prove that it was just for on-site consumption, we might have been all right. But to make cheese and to sell it and possibly wholesale some was prohibited. We tried 3 times from different angles, and we ended up sort of trying to go through too many loopholes that I wasn't comfortable with, saying that we're doing this and saying we're doing that and saying that we're doing this and then it's okay. So we sort of gave up rather than just try and bend every rule. But that was frustrating. I think, if you look at the milk factory in the council's book of permitted use, it's a prohibited use. There's one classification for a milk factory, so it's probably the same as us applying with that to Murray Goulburn applying for a 24-hour operation with milk, millions of litres of milk coming in every day. So I think that, if there is true support for food, local businesses like us and small scale producers, it needs to be a review of classifications, scale, splitting up. Okay, well, maybe this size production facility isn't allowed, but maybe this size is, and someone there to help you. But all we found was uncomfortable council officers that were just too scared to probably stick their neck out and say, well, I understand what you're trying to do. So we gave up on that, and I'll probably do it somewhere else because it's a passion that I have. But we're on a beautiful corner block here, and it was just a shame to waste such a beautiful building. But you look at 300 metres down the road, you've got Loon Croissanterie doing exactly what we wanted to do, but inside their glass windows, they're making croissants, not cheese. People take their croissants home and eat them. There's some on-site consumption, I guess. People can taste it there if they want on a couple of benches. And I guess that's what we were wanting to do. It was sort of with a little bit of, when I got the email to say, do you want to talk about, your business, the local future of food? I was just after being sort of knocked back several times on that, and I probably thought, well, do I want to talk, or do I want to explain maybe some of the challenges that you come up against? I'm only one person. I haven't got the energy to go to VCAT and explain myself there. I've got a pregnant wife and a 2-year-old and a business here, and so. But it's a shame to lose something like that. I'm sure if we had that, it'd be on every food trail that will probably pop up soon, and I'll probably be asked to be. We're on different things coming. We had postcards here last week, and Shane Delisle's coming back next Thursday for his other show. So the interest is there, the passion's there of people wanting to see it. There's local community and kids that are trying to work out where milk comes from and where food comes from, and so it's sort of frustrating that that room wasn't really about money for us. It was about probably the passion of the cheese. You don't make a lot of money out of one wheel of cheese a day, but it was about our brand. It was about the story. It was about having somewhere for people to come and see that maybe we can't provide here. So there's certainly good intentions, but someone with maybe more money and more nous, and maybe really to take more risks of pushing boundaries, arguing the point, may have got there. So I don't know. I've lost a little bit, and I also think the council's lost a bit. So I think that there's a big broad folder of definitions, and they're just black and white to a degree. And I sense that they probably this one officer you're sitting with is a bit too scared to make a call. They'll sit there and tell you to your face that I see what you're doing, that's great, but it just doesn't fit into these classifications. I'll talk to my manager about it, I can take it, so, and the result was, what if you grew and you started, the business grew and you're doing more and you're wholesaling a lot, and so there was the fear of our growth. Maybe that's fair enough. I'm not sure how that would be managed, but the fear of thriving businesses, I'm not sure. You see the lineups at some other shops around here, just each day. I'm not sure what the fear is, if it's the activity. So I understand there's challenges, but it doesn't seem too much of a case-by-case scenario, and I guess they're probably scared that you're setting precedents, opening floodgates. If they're allowed to, everyone's allowed to. So I just think it was all too hard. So it's a lot easier to put up roadblocks and then us sort of just go away a little bit, and then for us to really sort of to thrash it out and work out a way that it can work. But you see the activity we back onto the back of Brunswick Street premises, and you see the activity at the back. I think there's a lot more activity in some of these restaurant kitchens and rubbish out the back, and just lack of waste management and noise and fans and just people and late nights, and I don't think it's relative. So I think just, but it fits into a classification. It's easy and there's precedence, and I don't think. I think the challenge is for them to think outside the square, and they probably got 1,000 things on their plate, and there's in a too hard basket. Yeah, subcategories, or a separate category for artisan sort of product. I know it's probably hard to manage. How do they know if it's a limited turnover or limited production? And if the business thrives, what do you do? But I think that's probably being scared of, if the worst thing that happened is you've got, dotted around passionate small people that have got thriving businesses, because local people want it. It's not because they're there trying to take over the community, I guess. But so there is a definite passion for it, and that's probably why people are supporting people like us. They do want to walk around the corner and get their milk, or but traditionally industrial foods that have rationalised into big factories, they've moved out. For them to move back in now requires some probably classification changes. The difference between a small cheese vat and a thriving bakery, or a restaurant that has got meat curing out the back now, and someone curing salami, that's what they do. They're getting blurred. Restaurants are wanting to do more and more themselves. They're wanting to butcher, they're wanting to cure meats, they're churning butter, they're producing cheese, and that's happening within a kilometre of us. But we're not allowed to do it here because that's a different classification to do that solely. So there's inconsistencies that are probably unfair in some ways and stifling businesses like us, I guess. That's been lost, So I think they might need to decide whether it's a gain to come back in. If they decide it's not, well, I guess, it's something that they probably need to live with and not try to sort of jump on the back when it's great. Oh, look at this great business here, because we sort of found ways through 1,000 challenges to get here. So, Ooh, sorry, it's my phone. So, so I think it's probably a conscious decision to either support similar businesses or not. And I guess maybe it could be a separate subgroup of council permissions that look after artisan food, whether it's primary produce conversion, and the alternative is, I think we've seen with raw milk, that was something that there was a market, people wanted it, but because no one wanted to touch it, the dairy authority said, well, we're not going to regulate it and licence that. So if they haven't got a licence, they're not our business. But there was a market for it. So people were doing it in the back door. The people driving around unlicensed with unrefrigerated vans with milk. Raw milk is a contentious issue. I think the raw milk itself is historically, its pasteurisation was set up 80 years ago when there was no refrigeration. Hygiene standards were nothing like now. Milk was in cans. And, my grandfather, who worked at the Fitzroy butter factory, said that, there'd be cats in the factory, and, the times have changed a lot. So the rest of the world's probably changed, or still has raw milk. So I think that, if it's a regulated thing, it can be managed very easily, but because it's not regulated, people are doing it, behind the scenes. So it's a shame that people who are unlicensed can do it, but people who want to do it properly, like us, we've got every licence, we've got our hazard plans, we get audited twice a year. We do more testing than we want to, but we want to do everything right. You probably need some support back to do it. So I guess, so we do have an early start in terms of going and testing the milk. We choose the milk that we want for the day. It's only several thousand litres. We have that back here at 7 a.m. That's when we're allowed to, put the roller door up and bring some milk in, first delivery. We put it through. We used to hand bottle at the start. Now we've got you can see milk going along a filler. So that's changed our lives. But yeah, before that, I wouldn't have been able to stand here and talk for this long. But it still is a manual process. But you know, we have a couple of boys who, as you can see, you know, put the milk into the crates, load the empty bottles on, you know, fill the capper, put the milk into the cool rooms, and we've got a couple of drivers that, as we said, we loaded trucks yesterday afternoon, so we're not here too early in the morning. They go into the CBD, different days, different places, but today we do deliver down at St Kilda, Brighton, and they'll come back here and fill up and take the trucks back to the warehouse for tomorrow. So yeah, we do probably, it's still probably a lot more manual than most factories. Most factories would have robots putting the bottles in the crates, palletisers that are automatic. You know, the old factory had laser guided robots that put milk into the cool room. So you start to lose that. You lose local employment. You lose you lose connection with the product, and you have an operator sitting in front of a computer just watching the numbers, I guess. So yeah, it's very different. But yeah, we see the milk every morning. We taste the milk. We test the milk. We froth the milk every half an hour in the coffee machine to make sure it's it's still going right. But and we deliver it ourselves to local businesses, which I think they appreciate. You know, they know that they can ring me anytime, any day, which they do. But a lot of our customers just like the service. We answer the phone. We don't let them, if they ring up, I'm about to run out, we race to them. Just things that probably are lost a bit in the bigger businesses. Yeah.